Hi, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon for all you that are here. It's a great pleasure to be here today, having this conference that was prepared carefully for this great woman that we have here. And I'm sure that it will be amazing to hear all your experiences regarding to STEM, that it's so important nowadays. So now it's a great honor to introduce the moderator of the session, that is Dr. Arceloni Neuza Volpato. I will read some things here. Dr. Arceloni Neuza Volpato is a doctor in psycholinguistics, graduated in humanities. Her interests are technology, education, language acquisition, learning, Dexis at Unifac West University Center. She coordinates the Transcultural Practices Master and also Foreign Affairs Office. She is the Latin American for Science and Technology Association President Member of Executive Council at FIA India. She is the Vice President at Brazilian GEL at CSSIR, Chief Ambassador for Latin America, Advisory at Brazilian Ministry of Education, MEC, Santa Catarina State Research Foundation, FAPESC, and Pernambuco State Research Foundation, FAPESE. She got some awards and takes part at scientific committees, at academic journals and academic events, and as invited as a speaker and also a promoter. She organized some books and papers published in Brazil and abroad. I will just speak just some more words before we start. About the conference. For a long time, women around the world were subjugated and stereotyped for certain roles in the society. This reality was, little by little, being modified, but it is still a current challenge. The idea that men have more strength or ability for certain jobs that women have been constantly discarded as an argument to prevent the female figure from assuming any professional position. Men and women use different strategies and skills to respond to the same task, which does not mean that one is better or more privileged than the other to perform it. With that in mind, we created this webinar to talk about some professions that were previously considered masculine and in which more and more women have worked. This is an inspiring revolution and evolution, which awakens women to assume their dreams and desires, fulfilling themselves personally and professionally. So it's with a great honor that I give the floor to Dr. Arceloni Neuza Volpato. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Beatriz,
Yes.
Dr. Bisotto, thank you to Renata Graneto, thank you to all women that are here. It is a great pleasure to conduct a space with women in talk, women in active. Since we had since the ancient time, women are being different. Women are producing, are making, are starting the difference in our society. Since the round forms connected to the divine, to the fertilization of the planet, to the agricultural steps, we are here with so different abilities, with so different capabilities. We are doing the force and we are the power. Why not? Wonderful women that should say that. Thank you for the opportunity, and let's go what we have here to do. First of us, we'll talk Dr. Bisotto. Beatriz Lúcia Salvador Bisotto is a postdoctoral student at the University of Aveiro in Portugal, whose works are conducted by Professor Elizabeth Teixeira, present here. PhD in Administration from the University of Caxias do Sul, UCS, PUC-RR, Brazil. In agreement, Master in Business Administration from the University of Caxias do Sul, and a specialization in Controller, University of Caxias do Sul, and a Bachelor in Accounting Science. She is also a judicial expert, and so on, so on, so on. So many attributes, a very long and hard curricula. Professor Beatriz, it is an honor to listen to you, please.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all the participants, my colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here talking about this, about such an important topic as STEM. So can I share my PPT?
For sure.
Okay, thank you. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So what is esteem engagement? And because it lacks, it needs to encourage inequality. So STEAM is an acronym for the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. Discussion of STEAM-related programs has become a presidential priority because too few colleague students are pursuing degrees in these fields. So what is STEAM engagement? We have a gender bias produces gender gaps in STEM engagement. We explored whether the existence of gender bias causes gender gaps in STEM engagement. So there was an experiment in US where women projected less sense of belonging, positivity toward and aspirations to participate in STEM than did men when exposed to the reality of STEAM gender bias. These gender differences disappeared when participants were told that STEAM exhibits gender equality, suggesting that gender bias produces STEM gender gaps. The experiment too explored whether results generalized to a specific STEAM department and whether organizational efforts to mitigate gender bias might shrink gender gaps. US women exposed to a biased chemistry department anticipated more discrimination and project less sense of belonging, positive attitudes, and trust and comfort than did men. These gender differences vanished when participants read about an unbiased department, again suggesting that gender bias promotes STEM gender gaps. Further, moderated mediation analysis suggested that in the presence of gender bias, but not gender equality, women projected less positive attitudes and trust and comfort than did men because they experienced less sense of belonging and anticipated more discrimination. Results were largely unaffected by whether departments completed a diversity training, suggesting that knowledge of diversity initiatives alone cannot close STEM gender gaps. Most scholars agree that there is a gender disparity across science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in these fields. For example, recent estimates indicate that women comprise only 28.4% of the science and engineering workforce in the United States. However, there is ongoing debate about the causal factors responsible for STEM gender endorsement of communal goals, which are often viewed as incompatible with STEAM work, access to appropriate role models and mentors, social identity threat, stereotypes casting STEAM as male gender typed, and masculine cultures that undermine women's sense of belonging. So what Huge shortage of young people going into STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and math careers. The United Kingdom is suffering from a skills gap. A tech-savvy workforce is needed to cope with industrialization, and there is a huge shortage of young people going to STEAM careers. When students are asked to make subject choices leading to the future careers, many are unclear as to what is involved, and may also have picked up the message that STEAM is boring, nerding, or not for girls. To increase uptake, we need to excite kids about it before they pick up such messages. Why? If they are equipped to carry out a real tried and tested project, they can spend a day passing on their knowledge and enthusiasm to the students, while supporting their STEAM education by relating the activity to the curriculum learning objectives. So how? To appeal to both girls and boys and to provide a memorable experience which the students will then associate with STEAM in the future, it is important to start this process early, preferably at primary age, before the students begin to pick up negative messages about STEAM, particularly the not for girls message, which many seem to acquire around the age of 11 years old. The participation in science fairs, technological fairs, solving problems together at scientific and technological fair, involve the family in challenges of building objects, teach children how to create toys. What makes a STEAM activity? STEAM is science, technology, engineering, and math. These are all the areas of learning that our kids need to be comfortable with to excel in the future. STEAM make creators, thinkers, problem solvers, doers, innovators, and inventors. What is the STEAM method of teaching? STEAM stands for science, technology, as we told before, engineering, and math. It is a method of education wherein the subjects are taught in coherence instead of isolation. It emphasizes on bridging the learning gap by putting the children at the core of experience, making them active learners from passive listeners. The top 10 benefits of STEM education. The aims of STEAM education: develop children 21st century skills. Nowadays, school curriculums don't include 21st century skills. Hence, many teachers think about integrating STEAM in their lessons. We talk about 10 advantages of STEAM education in children development. We talk about the 10 advantages, as it's repeated here, sorry. But what are the benefits for kids? Let's see the benefits. First one is improve creativity. It can be said that creativity is thinking out of the box. STEAM students try to come up with unique ideas while solving complex problems with an interdisciplinary approach. They develop this skill with inspiration from their teammates. Thus, it encourages kids to explore new things, use their imagination, and build their invention. Number two, increase the team collaboration. Collaboration skill is the ability to work together for common goals. It is one of the vital points for STEAM education, and the syllabus is prepared to encourage teamwork. In this way, kids can develop their communication and leadership skills. Number three, develop communication skills. Communication skills are perhaps the most important of all life skills because communication brings about listening, friendliness, open-mindedness, and more ability they give and receive feedback effectively. Number 4, empower critical thinking skills. Critical thinking leads to finding solutions to problems. Students learn how to break down a problem into smaller parts and solve step by step. Besides, critical thinking is essential to improve at workplaces. Number 5, boost curiosity. STEAM students will be good at asking great questions. Curiosity students drive into innovations and discoveries that they research. Number 6, improve cognitive skills. Cognitive skills are the brain-based skills that enhance thinking, reading, and learning. STEM students can learn the basics of coding and engineering in primary schools. This approach helps kids' cognitive development. For instance, they can solve problems more quickly than their peers. Number 7, explore STEM careers in early ages. STEAM education nurtures students for the future to include the basis of innovation, science, and technology. So, students grow up appropriate with the 21 first skills in early ages. Number 8, learn how to take initiative. STEAM contributes to the growth of individuals who are curious, confident, and get better at dealing with challenges. They can design their projects to solve problems. Number 9, enhance media literacy. Unlike curriculums, STEAM students learn by research and inquiry. Inquiry requires students to engage in active learning by generating their driving questions and seeking out answers, so they can apply what you have learned in daily life. Number 10, boost social emotional learning. Social emotional abilities bring about happiness and success in life. STEAM education encourages children to improve their skills for becoming active members of society. Aside from personal development, including SEL strategies in teaching, empower students to learn more academically.
Excuse me, please. Unmute microphones, please. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, no problem. We talk about 10 advantages. Sorry. We talk about 10 advantages of STEAM education in children's development. These effective aspects need to be understood and explicitly addressed as part of any successful strategy to improve engagement in STEAM education and to address the significant gender equity issues associated with STEAM. In the 21st century, scientific and technological innovations have become increasingly important as we face the benefits and challenges of both globalization and knowledge-based economy. To succeed in this new information-based and highly technological society, students need to develop their capabilities in STEM to levels much beyond what was considered acceptable in the past. Let's finish with a reflection. STEAM, as we told before, science, technology, engineering, math, STEAM is very important because it pervades every part of our lives. Science is everywhere in the world around us. Technology is continuously expanding into every aspect of our lives. Engineering is the basic designs of roads and bridges, but also tackles the challenges of changing global weather and environmentally friendly changes to our home. Mathematics is in every occupation, every activity we do in our lives. By exposing students to STEAM and giving them opportunities to explore STEAM-related concepts, they will develop a passion for it and hopefully pursue a job in an STEM field. A curriculum that is STEAM-based has a real-life situations to help the students to learn. STEAM education in school is important to spark at interest in pursuing a STEAM career in students. However, teachers do not carry the whole burden of STEAM education. Parents also must encourage their children to pursue STEAM activities and increase awareness and interest at home and in extracurricular activities of the merits of STEAM education. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to speak here today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Bisotto. Thank you, Professora Renata, to deliver so important words, so important knowledge.
हेलो
In fact, education, it is the basis.
जी वालेकुम अस्सलाम हाँ
It
जी
is
क्या हाल
the
है
STEM used in
ठीक ठाक
another sense.
एक
Here,
मिनट में ये
it is the city
ऑनलाइन
of
रूम मीटिंग
present and nowadays. Dr. Muhad, please, could you please unmute your microphone? Thank you. And that's what we have. So, a constellation of women today in our space, in our world, sharing words. Thank you, Dr. Bisotto, once again. Now we have Professor Dr. Elizabeth Teixeira from Portugal. Dr. Teixeira is an employee at University of Aveiro, function of tutor and teacher there. She has 3 international research projects: applied social science, spiritual between Brazil, Pakistan, and India, governance, entrepreneurship. She's a national and international journal reviewer, also in Brazil, editor of, oh, sorry. Not this, I am repeating. Sorry. Professor Dr. Elizabeth Teixeira, I see it's not right. Professor Dr. Elizabeth Teixeira is Associate Professor at the Department of Economics, Management, Industrial Engineering, and Tourism, DGEIT, at University of Aveiro in Portugal, where she coordinates the international mobility, Erasmus, and Campus Europe programs for economic studies. She is full researcher at GovCop Research Unit. She was chair of the subject Committee of Economics and Business of Campus Europe, European University Foundation since 2016. She has been member and chair of the Economics and Business Panel of the Foundation for Science and Technology, FCT. She holds a Master in Economics at University of Coimbra and a PhD in Business and Economics Competitiveness at University of Aveiro. She teaches at the undergraduate and graduate levels, namely non-monetary economics, macroeconomics, international economics, economic applied studies, introduction to economics, economics 1 and 2, and economics of SMEs. She has been visiting professor in some European university. She has been a supervisor of national and international master's and PhD and postdoctoral theses. She's author of several those in articles published in International Scientific Journals Index, books, chapters, and institution reports. She is also a reviewer of national and international journals. She is involved in several national and international projects as coordinator and as researcher on competitiveness and innovation fields. She has been involved as coordinator and lecturer in several international summer schools, as well as chair member of scientific committees of international conferences. Welcome, Dr. Teixeira. A pleasure to be here, a close friend of Brazil. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation, and I would like to give my greetings to all the presents, and thanks the invitation to be here today and talking about very important topic that is the female view on STEAM and also the gender research. That is one of my fields of research, and which I have been a chair of the International Conference of Gender Research in the several 2 years, and a scientific member of the committee for 5 years. That was one of my ideas to really create this conference. So I'm going to start to do my presentation. I'm going just to, I'm going to share. Okay, I cannot share my presentation. Can you allow it, please? Renata? May you activate the permission? Oh, I don't want to be but now I can share it. Não era para ser eu anfitrião, mas para permitir compartilhar.
Yeah.
So then you change.
Okay, it's okay.
So now I'm allowing to share my presentation. So I'm going to present as Beatriz Bisotto, Dr. Beatriz Bisotto so presented and very well the importance of the STEAM education. I'm going to talk about evolution of women in labor markets and finishing, and especially in developed economies. And really finish it on the application of the STEAM in the case of the labor market, because it's very important, and why women are still today with a deficit on this field of the labor market. So in the last centuries, we have be testimonies of the role of women in labor markets that has passed great changes. So if we search about 100 years ago, we see that the gender inequalities have decreased in most of the developed countries. The stereotypes related to women in labor markets have been broken in consequences of great part of the changes in social norms and culture that have changed. So women are not more to stay at home in domestic tasks, but women have many competences to really can do it, the family work, and also be very excellent in their abilities in the work market or the labor market. And so the stereotypes have changed, but how so many efforts have been done by the governments and national and international institutions to promote women's empowerment and gender equality. Many of these cases have been promoted by women, by their voices and by their strikes, and many of their involvement in this empowerment of women. So it is something that it has to go going on, because many things have to be done in the future, because the gender gap still exists and is very huge in some countries, in some societies. So this presentation that I'm going to do today provides an overview of the evolution of the role of women in labor markets in developed countries, and is based on the set of variables. So the gender participation rates, education, employment, gender gap in management, in the power, in the politics, in their roles, in decisions in the world, the wages and the gender wage gap, and public policies and laws. So despite this positive evolution on the participation rate of women in labor markets, so that we have observed in the recent decades, especially after Second World War, gender inequality still persists, and still persists even in the more developed societies, in the more developed countries. Even we saw that in European Union, we have a president as woman, and we have also for the central bank a woman too. So it's just in the other parts of the power and the decisions are men. So this is really a changing of the times to have a president of the European Union, and also at the same time at the European Central Bank. But this is just in Europe, and it's just a characterization that is not for whole the European countries. So because some of them are considered men or male countries, like Portugal and the countries of the south of Europe, they are considered as men countries with the adherence, with culture in general that are characterized by male culture. And the other countries, for example, the ones in the north or the ones in Central Europe, where we see that the characterization is for female countries. So the equality is bigger in these countries, and we see, for example, the presidencies of these countries have women as presidents or as prime ministers there. And we have more equality in gender in these countries, in the tasks, in the home places, in the families, that in the countries of the south of Europe. So we have to have in mind that the increase of women's participation in the labor force and the convergence to gender equality will have a positive contributions in society for this equality, but also so to social inclusion, to poverty reduction, to development of living standards, and special for economic growth. So these are going to be lots of benefits in the field of social, so in families, in the division of the tasks, in the society, in the labor market, but also in economics, that the contributions of women in the labor markets can really contribute, have a great contribution. So not only in the, not only on the low level of the labor pyramid, but at all the levels, and especially in the top level. So from a historical point of view, the evolution observed in the last century, from 20th century to the 21st century, it changed the existing cultural structure and consequently the conventional place of women in society and in the labor markets. So typical women have a position on society to stay jointly with the family, to stay at home. And only the women of the more low classes on the society go abroad to work on that. The others in the middle that work outside, they have a typical gender-based division of labor. And this labor specialization was just to be nurses or to be primary school teachers. And in this case, women were like nuns. They cannot marry. They have to really submit to their professions, to their labor as nurses or as teachers. And they have for many years till to the middle of the 20th century, just they were allowed to marry and have a family that can really be compatible with the profession and with family. So after the Second World War, we observed a change in these employment segregation, and the gender stratification and the stereotypes start to change it. And why? Because the men were in war, and it was needed that women go work for really sustain the war. So war needed, they go to nurses, they have a mobility to the fields of the battle. They go for the schools, and they at the same time, they have their families because men were in war. And these changes also allowed or also impulsed international mobility of persons and ideas. So in the war, the people has some mobility, and they observed how it was working in other countries. And these made a gradual change in the way of being in societies. So women won a more power and a more distinguished value in the society. These cultural changes created a new consciousness of a gender affirmation and equality of rights that started in that time and allowing to grow in the past to the convergence of gender equality and the participation of the female labor force to a large increase. So this was not visible immediately. So it was really have an increase in the participation in the labor market that starts so being with a significant increase. So the participation of women in labor markets after the 80s. It was in the first decade of the 21st century that the women participation in the labor force increased usually, so a lot. And it was due to a set of cultural, institutional, and economic factors. So a list of factors that it was considered as a key determinants for this huge increase in the beginning of the 21st century, it was really the religious. So people in most of the countries, in the developed countries, saw broken the religion's targets or the religion's overviews that happened at that time. And so the cultural, and so people that it was, for example, Christian and Catholic, they was not to go only to stay at home. They go out and they go to work to help in the money they can collect it for the family. So the cultural and social norms. So women has not to be at home, has not just to be nurse or to be a teacher. They have all the things they can do it. So they can do all the things that men can do it. The access to education also too. So that cultural sense that many of the times it came from the families where so just the boys are going to study in the high level institutions, that only the men are going to be engineer or are going to be a lawyer, because women have not the capacity to be that. And many of the families don't invest in their girls, their daughters, because they have a stereotype in mind that women are going to marry and women have to be in certain labor professions and not or works, and not as engineer, for example, or not as to be in the mathematics. So it was not seen that kind of thing for girls. Indeed, starts in the family, so, and not properly in the society. So the first women have really to take a great battle, or took a great battle to really to fight these stereotypes that started in the beginning in the family. Also the income level, that it was important, the fertility. So women are fertility more longer, or have special methods that can really control this fertility. Then the institutional framework comprises the legal frameworks, like the laws, like the equality, like the regulations of the payments, the enterprises and the labor unions that make a lot for the equality of gender in the labor market, the sectoral base of the economy. So where allows that women have a place depending on their capacities and abilities. Then the political regimes that are very important too, because the political regimes can do for more freedom and to give more power and participation of women, and other regimes cannot. So it depends what is really concerning, what is accepting in the assembly, in the government, by the representing of the people in these political regions. And of course, war and conflicts. So war and conflicts is going to really decrease in many times the participation of women, because women don't want to go to wars, or women, most of the women don't go to wars or are not allowed to go, for example. So these factors are very important to make the change on this. So these social cultural changes occurred as seedbeds that flourished in many different fields. So the way of thinking, it was very important, especially that women really think different. And we saw by the books in the beginning of the 20th century, many books was really important for the thinking of women, of young women, when they read the books. For example, The Pride and Good Sense, it was a book that influenced the way of thinking of many women. They don't want to marry, they want to go to really fight for what they want a career, they want to take their power on the family, on their properties, because women for many times cannot have their properties from their fathers if they were the older child was a woman. So that it was something that was really fighting for many times, as well as in many ways in cinema. For example, the actress cannot have the right to be pregnant, or so on, or the teachers or the nurses. So it was very important, as the way as the women dressed. Why? Because these really have a problem in the labor markets, because for many years it was not allowed for women just to wear or dress it. So the shorts, that it was not allowed. They can only have dresses. And after that, when women can dress what they want, so it really simplifies the things in the labor market. So the way of being in society, and especially fighting for the rights, the women's rights, and for the right of education, because education is one of the points more important in this change in the world, this change of the women to be a place, important role in the labor market. So in the middle of the 20th century, so after the Second World War, most of women's, most of women's education was only at the basic level. So just to learn to read and to write. And the other part of education was related to the female family. So to play piano, to talk French, to know how to manage a house, to manage the family things, and no more. But after that, women want to go to study. So after this primary or secondary school, women want to go to labor markets, wants to do more that work in education, in domestic labor, and on houses, nurses. So they want to be doctors, they want to be engineers, they want to be professors at the universities, they want to be scientists. And so this take an objective to go to higher education and tertiary education. And if we see, for example, Marie Curie or other scientists, it was really a fight to be there because women were not allowed at universities. Women were not allowed to vote, for example, just if they were married or they were the husband has died or passed away, and they have a family, for example. So women in Portugal only voted for the government in 1974, and we see that is very important, the women participation in society. And it was really, in many cases, impossible. Women have this participation, women has this education, can have access to this education at universities, that it was not to be a teacher at the primary teacher or to be a nurse. And women after the Second World War want to gain their place in the jobs, in all the places, in all the jobs they want really to work. So in this case, despite this great trend of women in the labor fields, nowadays still persists these differences subsequent in academic careers. And the labor market prospects both in sectoral based economy. So there are really some women that are propense and motivated to study in these fields and have this power and submitted. But the majorities sometimes is going for traditional places. So this is changing in this decade according to the statistics, but nowadays women represent in most of the developing countries. And when I talk here in the developed countries, I mentioned to the OADC countries. So the majorities in universities and tertiary level education have better grades than men's. And universities, they have more women than men, and so women have high grades than men, even in the STEAM fields. So the science, technology, engineering, and math. But despite in this fact, many of the women really are going to pursue these careers. So sometimes they think that they are going not to be successful that in the labor market they are going to be so pushed to them, so in this case the evidence of the studies show that they perceive it that in the STEAM women perceive it that they don't have equal opportunities for make a career here in these fields, so that they have to fight a lot, and some of the women don't want. So if they have to fight a lot to be well succeeded in the STEAM fields, so forget it. I just want to leave it. So this is important, really, as Dr. Beatrice Bisotto mentioned, is important really to motivate young people, especially the girls, to be in these fields. So they are able and they have equal rights to do a career in these fields, in science, in technology, in engineering, in maths. And even more, we have women so studying in these fields and really to be well succeeded. Of course, that the statistics show us that really are not so many women, because really they are afraid, or in many cases because the family advise them to don't go to these careers because they are going to have problems. And this is a thing that information and knowledge and the good examples can really make the difference. So the statistics also show that OADC statistics show that the work performance of women are better. They can really do it as usually is told. They can do it many things at the same time. They have the family to manage, they have the career to manage, and they can do it, all the things successfully. So they can manage all the things much better. And they have more competences and good marks at university and good performance at the work labor than men, but the wages are less. Why? Because it's men who are in the top careers and they decided, so it's not fair. So the contributions are also for the society, but are also so for the economic contributions. So the contributions of women in the labor market are very important and are identified as a factor that contributed to the economic growth. So economic growth is related, is positively related with economic competitiveness and with GDP. So if we have equality, we are going to have an increase in GDP and in economic competitiveness. If the gender is higher, so it's correlated with the poverty and with the decrease of the GDP. But some authors also say that when the countries is increasing in the developing countries, for example, certain kinds of gender inequality can persist, and we see that on the developing countries. So the case of the women's participation, they are really so related with the business cycles, and it can be explained as a U-curve on that, because women, when they increase the GDP, have not more necessity to work to increase so the health of the family. So, but these are not in top in the top professions or jobs, but in fact, many women give up to work and stay with the family if they have really so a great family here. So these interesting, or this research, this interest in academic research and by the institutions is really very recent. If we have laws about the 70s and the 60s for the Equal Pay Act, for example in the United States, This research is only in the 21st century that has been really research and something that has been developed by academics and also by the interventions of governmental and international institutions, like, for example, in these international institutions like the G20, the countries of the G20 that discovered that women are very important to increase the economic growth. And the case of the United Nations, special to the inclusion, social inclusion, and to decrease the poverty, and the European Union that really do it many efforts to for the equality of gender. So it allows to increase the economic opportunities of women in many fields. So with the quotas, for example, in the large companies, in the case of the quotas in the political parties, in the committees, for example, we have in the committees, in the juries, we have a norm or a rule in Europe that women have to be in equality with men in these juries, in these public juries, or in these in the governments, so on. So this is very important for decrease the gender inequalities in labor market and decisions of the society. So in the last 2 decades, a significant progress of women education was very important. So special when it increased the participation of women in the STEAM fields. Many countries implemented working time regulations and systems of incentives special to support the parenting costs based on health care, on human resource management practices for company workers, special for women, policies of taxes and national benefit systems. So nowadays we have in Portugal 5 months of maternity and 1 month for the father that is mandatory, and they can really share this paternity leave as they want it for 6 months. So what really are going to benefit women? Some actions were taken by the governments and world organizations in the world really to promote equality. So in the labor market and in society. But of course that the gender gap persists even in the developed societies. So many things has to be done in the future. So we don't have to really say that is enough. It's not enough. This is just a way to this equality, gender equality. It just starts here in the 21st century. So the women participation in the OADC labor markets, we see that in many of the countries, women participation increase a lot. So the ways of the institutional environment to support women, and then many women do it for that. So we see that in fact, it increases a lot in many of the countries. So there are small exceptions, but in most of the countries of the OADC, so women participation in labor markets increase a lot. When we see the relation of the gender gap on the GDP, based also in data of the OADC, we see that the gender gap, so the difference between men and women, so are related inversely with the GDP growth. So it's important to increase or decrease the gender gap, increase the equalities, the gender equalities, for we will support economic development and special economic growth for the economy, because women can really have a productivity that are higher than men's productivity. So that is very important. So the evolution of women education. So,
Do xícara azul já está lá em cima.
so we see that it increases a lot also too. So with the exception of Switzerland
Excuse
and
me?
Japan.
Excuse
So the female education increased a lot in these 20 years. So it's
Excuse me?
very important. to
Dr.
participate.
Teixeira?
Yes.
If you please could summarize your,
Yes, I'm quite ending. Yes.
we appreciate too much. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Sorry for taking more
So
minutes.
interesting.
Yes.
But time is,
Yes, it's short for everyone. Yes, I know. So the gender gap, as we see, it's not according to the evolution of education and the participation of women. And it also happens with the women promotion and employment opportunities. So it's many things has to be done. So as a conclusion or conclusions of this, so the increase of women participation in the labor market will contribute to the equality of societies and also to the economic growth and the productive potential in the sustainable way, because women are more productive, women are more interested, women have more competencies than men in general. So once women represent around half of a country's potential talent base or base talent, the competitiveness of a nation depends a lot in the long run on the women education levels and in their active participation in labor markets, especially on the fields of the STEAM, the STEM that we are discussing today. And so it's very important to take into account, and the evolution has to continue in the cultural, institutional, and economic changes that are going to converge to the equality of gender. And women's significant progresses in education has to continue and also in the labor participation force. And of course, that to do it a many pressing on the case of the wage gap decrease. So the public efforts and the participation of women, especially at the top level and special in the institutional organizations, are very important to really complete or continue these changes. So it's very important really that these equalities persist and have to decrease. So women make the difference. And we see that in these last decades of the 21st century, and that we have to contribute a lot. So on education in the family, in the home case, and in the public case, so to the gender equality and to a fairer future society. So thank you for your attention, and sorry to exceed the time a little bit more.
in fact, we listen to you all whole morning.
No.
Excuse me,
I
I
will
want to
start
know.
to sleep. Me too.
Yeah. I suppose we have a question, Miroslava.
Yeah, I have a question. Excuse me, the Nadia Hatchcroft unfortunately cannot be here, and I am instead here. Can I tell a few words about our? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Gender inequality. 5 violence of women's right in Ukraine. Women in Ukraine have equal opportunities with men if only the desire and ability to embody them. This opinion is quite widespread. However, it is enormous expect that, and statistics prove it. Ukrainian women are still subjected to gender discrimination. Oh, okay, and I will be not so long. A few words, just 3 minutes, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
2 minutes, please.
Okay, 2 minutes. Victims of domestic violence remains the most brilliant violation of women's rights in Ukraine. Every year, about 600 Ukrainian women die in the hands of abusers. This is the date of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. 90% of our citizens who suffer from violence are women. The reasons are the stereotypes that a woman is the keeper of the home. Her functions is to cook and to take care of children. And as soon as she begins to assert her rights, she is immediately subjected to violence, either economic, psychological, physical, and sexual. Receive lower wages, women in Ukraine will earn in average 28% less than men. This is the date of the state statistics. According to recruiting agencies, this difference is even higher. One of the reasons for this is that in addition to paid work, on the woman's shoulder is domestic work, which is considered female: cleaning, cooking, childcare. And the third is how military in power. According to the analytical report of Council of Europe Commission for Gender Equality in 2017, Ukraine is a group of countries with the lowest representation of women in power. Ukrainian parliament consists of only 12% of women, despite the fact that this figure is a record for all previous convocation. It is still low compared to practice of democratic countries. Experts say, for example, in the EU countries, women is in parliaments on average twice as many, 26%. And in Sweden, Finland, and Spain, more than 40%. The situation is not much better in the regions of Ukraine. And a career restricted. An important step towards gender equality was the abolition of distribution of professions into female and male, but this does not mean that discriminatory practices have disappeared in Ukraine or that there are no abandoned professions, experts say. For example, the army still has a number of non-women's professions approved by orders with a stamp with limited access. We have forbidden professions in both the civilian and security defense sectors, and it is not the number but their existence. Ukrainian women are banned from all professions related to the Navy. As one lawyer from the Ministry of...
Miroslava, excuse me.
Okay, yeah.
I suppose you can share your text because we have a program with so close time, yes? And your data is so important, is so interested. But we have the invited people to deliver their talks. Your data are important. I suppose you are Professor Hasnick student, yes? Yes,
Yes.
Please send your material to Professor Nadia Hatchcroft. She shares it to us. It is important to us, really is.
Yes, if you
But
send
we
me,
have to go ahead with the program. Yeah?
I can send it in chat, yes?
yes,
But I
no
do not-
problem.
Croatia,
Okay,
yeah.
one minute,
Ukraine,
please.
turn us, so important.
Thank you for
Since we had met Nadia Hatchcroft. Well,
Okay, thank you for attention.
yeah, Professor Elizabeth Pereira, so nice talk, so important talk. It is a pity, in fact, we have so disturbed differences between genders. It is a pity. And in ancient times, it was not. Since we had the round forms of males, the sacred ventry of women, history was totally different. And we had to walk in a different position, and we had not a bravest word nowadays. But with a little, not so little yet, but we have to do effort to make things different. Thank you for your delivery. Thank you for your talk. So nice presentation.
Thank
Next
you.
time, we go ahead.
Okay, I would like to thank you very much for your initiative, because it's initiatives like this that we can really promote. So the women role, especially in STEAMs and special, so with identity, and to really motivate people or women for their participation in society. So congratulations to these initiatives.
Yeah. On behalf of Beatriz and Renata, I say thank you. In fact, they are being totally different. Well, now greetings to Professor Dr. Nadia Hatchcroft students that are here with us. It is a pleasure. And we have a special talk from Croatia. Dr. Nadia Hatchcroft will talk now. She is a professor, a trainer, an educator, and a researcher. Assistant professor on the Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism, split mentor professor. VET School, SSSBGG. Nadia Hatchcroft is from Sini, Dalmatia country in Croatia. Maybe the pronunciation is not so great, but that is the world we have, multicultural. She has a master's degree in economics and mechanical engineering. She works as an assistant professor on Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism Split, Department of Quantitative Economics and Informatics. She also works as a professor mentor in VET School, Srendja Instructu Vida Escola Bana Josipa Gelatica in Chini. She's teaching in economic subjects and related course. She has a diploma in computer information with STEAM expert. In her work, she uses and promotes the development of ICT and digital competencies making digital education materials. She is an active educator and trainer for teachers at the Center of Split Dalmatia Country Excellence, Teacher for Teachers. She has honorary awards like an information system manager. She is a certified accountant and a certified ISO internal auditor. She deserves a few honorary doctorates in human rights, social rights, and she is finishing her doctorate in Croatia. She possesses personal, social, organizational, and learning to learn competencies, entrepreneurship, digital language, mathematical, and statistical competence. She is doing different in this world, in her region and around the world. Professor Hatchcroft, please, your turn to present your reflections, your ideas about the theme. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you on your lovely introduction. Thank you, Beatrice and Renata, for this invitation. I'm really proud to be here today, but honestly, today I will be a little faster because I have a meeting here and I almost go there. So what will I say? Is Croatia closing the gender gap in science? I would like to say that in Croatia, women are really involved in STEM. Many women are inspiring in this field, and I can say that there are no boundaries of knowledge here because as we know that many of us here are the professors of the STEM, also me from statistics, math, informatics, and today we are talking about artificial intelligence, IT, biology, ecology, biochemistry. That is all a part of STEM. If we say maybe in Croatia, that percent now is about 30% in the STEM. And I can also say that there are no boundaries today. We have many opportunities in Croatia. The World Bank is offering to us the loans and we can get the funds. Many elementary schools, high schools, faculties are using that loans and that funds are financed. So we have many open collaborative projects for Croatia science, and as I said, for all of our schools, and we are cooperating with many other international research institutions. What about the high school? And I can also say an elementary school because I make few researches for that also part of education. They are participating in this STEM revolution. In Croatia, we have many women which are known all over the world because in Europe also we participate in e-twinning projects, and many e-twinning projects are from the STEM and the STEM revolution. In Croatia, our ministry is giving a big support for the STEM, and like I said, that now almost more for the women. Women in Croatia are really, I can say, not fully equal, but we have a high position in our society, and we are very respected. We have a Croatian Employees Association, we have a called Carnet, and many other partners which are working on this in this field. Like I said, for STEM, we really don't have a problem if you are interested in that field and you can make it. Many competitions, many science competitions are the women included in. We have Women Croatia, which are making robotics. We have that leagues. I can say we have STEM revolution projects. We have pro micro projects. We have many projects. Also, we have a big cooperation with Rotary Club. Rotary Club is also through whole the world. And like I said, that we have one person called Dr. Nenad Bakic, and he's really doing a lot on this field. Like example, 2,000 schools in Croatia, I can say elementary school, were invited in that project. Our teachers, if somebody asked me in my country, which teachers are and all are teachers or professors who is more involved in this project, I can say teachers in elementary school. They are really educating every day. We have many big platforms, and every night at the same time on the Croatia platform, you can see women. You can see always 300 women, and they are almost teachers from elementary school. And that is good because the students, when they come from elementary school to high school, they are really educated informatic. And that is not a problem when they come also on the faculty. I think that what is missing, I think that it is still in the borders of our country. Yes, we are part of European Union. Yes, we have e-twinning projects, but I still think that must go more globe, because here today are many women, great STEM women, and I think that we must make more collaboration with projects. And that will be for me the real meaning of the woman in STEM. I want to say now I'm working on one research. It is still not finished. And what is I make the abstract. I don't have I don't have all conclusions yet, but I will tell shortly about my new research. We include on the European level, we have a label like a STEM label school, and our achievements are various. And we included here are included also students, parents, and family characteristics that are the qualitative data which I put in this research. And experience, I make a few surveys. And now what is the purpose of this? The study, what I make, explores the relationship between the students who are engaged in this high-end technology, in the technology-based activities, and at the STEM school achievement. What is the sample? The sample is 100 students, and I make it 500 girls and also 500 men. What methods do I use here? The methods are used on the frequency of the various activities the various activities what are doing the men, I can say the boys, and what are doing the girls. The frequency of the posts, we are watching also the posts on the social media. Here we included not only we included here my colleague. I'm doing it with my colleague from the faculty, and we here included also from the social medias, downloading music, movies, games, software. Many questions are here included, and also on this way we can compare the men's and women's and the gender, and who is more interested in this part and who gives more and better results for the education. What is the difference between frequency, technology-based activities, and what will I say here? STEM achievements can be different between boys and girls, also between students who have. So one of the questions is, do you live with your parents? Because that social part has I can say that social intelligence and emotional intelligence are also included here. So this is not only it is not a research STEM only. We included here psychology, sociology, because my colleague now is working in the field of sociology. So I can say proudly that in my country, I'm really satisfied with STEM. I can say also the students can be satisfied because they have many possibilities to get phones. Also, our students can go on the mobility. If you want to learn something new, and if you don't have it in your country, you can go on the mobility. You can write your work, your finishing work for the graduation. You can listen many subjects in other European countries. Here is Elizabeth. Here is our professor Elizabeth. I come before a few days. I was in Portugal, and I can say that Portugal also has a great education system, and I'm sorry that I couldn't be more on the lessons because there are big restrictions for this situation of COVID. I was few times, I listened some classes, but Nadia promised herself that she will come back to Portugal. So here I'm always open for collaboration. Thank you, dear Beatrice. Thank you, Renata. Thank you, Elizabeth, for a great presentation. Beatrice, for your, and thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Professor Nadia Hatchcroft, for your information, for your presentation. So nice. For sure, it is a great and valuable contribution to the event. And now we have Cray coming. We have Professor Dr.
Nadia.
Yes, you. Again in Brazil, it's a pleasure. All week you visit us. So nice.
Now it's a usually situation when I come to Brazilian some events, and our collaboration, it's not collaboration, it's a friendship. It's a good friendship. So when I prepared my speech, first of all, I always remember that when I told you first time about